Why are airplane windows round? You have sat next to one hundreds of times. You looked through it, you pressed your forehead against it, you watched cities disappear below you, and you never once asked why it was that shape. Until now. Because the answer is not about design. It is not about aesthetics. It is not about making the view prettier. It is about what happened when they were square. And what happened was people died. Stay with me, because this is one of those stories where a small detail that nobody thought to question turned into one of the worst aviation disasters in history. And the solution they found is the reason you are still alive every time you fly. Let's go back to 1949. The world had just come through World War II. Aviation technology had advanced dramatically, and the race was on to build the first commercial jet airliner. The winner was the de Havilland Comet. It was extraordinary, beautiful, fast, modern, everything a post-war world hungry for progress wanted to see. It flew twice as fast as any propeller aircraft. It flew higher. It flew smoother. Passengers who flew on it described it as a completely different experience from anything that had existed before. The future of aviation had arrived, and then the planes started falling out of the sky. Between 1953 and 1954, 3 Comet aircraft broke apart in mid-air. No warning, no distress call, no explanation, just a plane that was flying normally one moment, and debris falling into the ocean the next. The investigations that followed were among the most thorough in aviation history. They rebuilt entire aircraft from recovered pieces. They tested every component. They pressurized and depressurized the fuselage thousands of times in water tanks to simulate what the aircraft experienced on every flight. And eventually, they found it: the windows. Here is what was happening. Every time an aircraft climbs to cruising altitude, the pressure outside drops dramatically. At 35,000 feet, the air pressure outside the aircraft is roughly 1/4 of what it is at sea level. If the cabin was not pressurized, passengers would lose consciousness within minutes. So the cabin is pressurized, inflated like a balloon to maintain comfortable pressure inside while the outside air is almost nothing. And every time the aircraft climbs, the fuselage expands slightly as the pressure difference increases. And every time the aircraft descends, it contracts again. Expand, contract, expand, contract, every single flight, for hundreds of flights, for the entire life of the aircraft. This is called pressurization cycling, and it stresses the metal every single time it happens. This stress is called metal fatigue, and it is manageable, it is understood, it is designed for, but only if the stress is distributed evenly. And here is where the square windows became a death sentence. A square has corners, and corners are where stress concentrates. When the fuselage expands and contracts with every flight, the stress that runs through the metal flows like water through a pipe. On a curved surface, the stress flows smoothly. It distributes evenly. No single point takes more than its share. But at a corner, the stress cannot flow past. It has nowhere to go. It builds and builds and builds until the metal can no longer hold, and it fails catastrophically, instantly, completely. The technical term is stress concentration. The corners of the square windows on the de Havilland Comet were experiencing stress levels many times higher than the surrounding metal on every single flight, slightly worse each time, until one day the corner cracked. The crack spread at supersonic speed around the fuselage, and the entire aircraft tore itself apart in a fraction of a second. At 35,000 feet, with people inside, the investigation changed aviation forever. Round windows have no corners. The stress flows around them smoothly. No concentration point, no catastrophic failure. Every aircraft manufacturer in the world changed their designs immediately, and every aircraft that has been built since then, every single one, has round or oval windows. Not for style, not for the view, because of what they learned from watching aircraft fall out of the sky. Now here's the part that should make you stop. The engineers who designed the Comet were not careless. They were not incompetent. They were not cutting corners. They were some of the best aerospace engineers in the world, working with the most advanced knowledge and technology available, and they missed it. Not because they were not looking, but because the failure mode was so subtle, so gradual, so invisible to the naked eye, that nobody knew to look for it until it had already killed people. This is something that appears in every major engineering disaster in history. The Tacoma Narrows Bridge, the Titanic, the Space Shuttle Challenger. In every case, the failure was not random. It was not bad luck. It was a small thing that no